Hello, my fellow Rotarians, and welcome back to the legendary Rotary D6270 podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Ulrich, your district governor nominee, and today I have a very special guest for all of us. It's our district governor, Dawn Fiedler. Woo! Welcome, Dawn. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is really fun, very exciting. I'm so happy that our district has a podcast. This is wonderful.
Well, and I'd like to say thank you personally for trying something different and being willing to do new things. I think that's important. People and organizations that aren't willing to change and try these weird things stagnate and don't grow. So, a way to be awesome. So, tell us a little bit about yourself professionally. What do you do for a living? You're a very busy woman.
Yes, I am. Basically, I'm an advocate for victims of violence. That's really the crust of what I do. I started a nonprofit, and that's part of my Rotary story. I was working for a local church as their community outreach coordinator, and I was involved in Rotary, and I was asked to be our club president. So as part of the preparation for that, I was sent to the district conference. That was in 2017. Julie Craig was our district governor at the time.
Oh yeah, I remember Julie. I liked her a lot.
It was awesome. So it was in Milwaukee, and it was my very first conference. And I realized very quickly how much fun Rotarians like to have at conferences. It was really great. It was a wonderful experience. But of course, Saturday morning came by, and Julie had organized all these amazing workshops on the work that we did within our district all over the world, featuring all the many different projects that we were doing. But all of the rooms were full. I mean, they were really popular. I had very bad knees. I knew I couldn't stand it for 2 hours in the back of a room. And I thought, well, we're at a district conference. Last night was a lot of fun. Maybe I should go back to my room and take a nap. Or I could go to the one workshop that had seats in it, and that was on human trafficking. So that's what I did. So I'm originally from England, and I have family that live all over the world in many different countries. And I knew there was this thing called human trafficking in the world. It was a fairly new concept to me. I didn't really understand what that really looked like. And I sat there for 2 hours with my mouth open. I had no idea the impact it had here in the state of Wisconsin. And that blew my mind. And at that time, in 2017, Wisconsin was number 3 in the nation. And that's what hit me the hardest. So I went back the next day to work, because I worked for a church, so Sunday is a work day. And I was telling the people during the fellowship hour all about this workshop that I attended and how it had impacted me. And they're like, well, what do we need to look for? What are the indicators that we need to see? What if I'm in a doctor's office, and what am I looking for? And so I went to my boss, and I went to my Rotary Club, and I said, I think we need to organize an awareness event. And they said, my boss he was right on top of that. He's like, yeah, absolutely, we got to do this. And then I went to my Rotary Club, and our district governor, our president-elect, who was coming in to be the next president, because this was before the change, this was in June, May-June time. And I went to her and I said, I really think we need to do this. And she said, well, you can try it, but I don't think you're going to be very successful, because I've been trying to bring this concept into Walworth County for 2 years. Nobody wants to know about it. Like, okay, challenge accepted.
Oh,
And
that's a
so
good
I
mindset.
put a committee together. The club agreed, and so did the church, to pay for the event. And I put a community awareness event together. I put a whole team together, and fellow Rotarians were a part of that. Heidi Lloyd and Amanda Kosman, who's now married. They were a part of that original team. We bought the executive director for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we put this conference together. And I went all over my county trying to tell people about this event, and especially within our schools, that this was important and they needed to come. We planned it for January 11th, which happens to be National Human Trafficking Awareness Day.
Okay.
We had brought in a very special speaker who was a survivor, and she was a nationally known speaker, and there was a movie about her. She came to share her story that night, and I brought back the organization that taught the workshop at the the conference to be a part of that as well. And then I had put a panel together of 12 people within our community who work in this arena, from our sheriff to director of human services. We had our SANE nurses, we had people that work, social workers, counselors, we had police officers there, we had therapists there, because we thought if somebody hears this and they get triggered, we want to have people, professionals there to assist immediately.
Oh, very thorough.
And it was going very well. And we had a big media blitz. We had posters all over the county. And we had Milwaukee TV stations, Madison TV stations planning to come that night. And guess what happened in Wisconsin on January 11th?
A snowstorm.
Actually, it was a major ice storm.
Oh, even worse. Right.
Yes. And nobody could get down 43 or get to Elkhorn because the roads were so thick ice, they were closed. It was awful. So we thought, well, all this work and nobody's going to be able to come. And we still had 200 people show up.
Unbelievable. 200 people come out in front of the ice.
Yes.
So
And
the power of the message, the power of Rotary getting that together, well done.
Absolutely. It was fantastic. And, at the time I worked for a church. So December is a kind of a busy month in a church. And then we had this right after Christmas, and I'm like, oh, now I can breathe. And the same nurses came up to me and said, that was really awesome last night. We need to do this again in Burlington. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So we brought Teresa back out, and we organized another event in May. And that was also a phenomenal turnout in the Burlington area. And I went back to the organization that taught that original workshop. And I said, we need you in Walworth County. It's obvious that this is something that, we need your help with. Would you come here and, be a part of Walworth County as well? And they said, no, we cannot. We're just far too busy in our own county. We can't spread ourselves that thin. I said, okay. So I started joining the movement in the basement of the local hospital in one of the conference rooms as we were trying to organize the Burlington event. That's how it all came together. And so that was in 2018. We started in 2017, but we didn't formalize until 2018. Right. So then I had to raise the money to apply for our 501c3. Because I worked for a church. They're not notoriously paid well. And so we were still traveling. I was speaking all over. And because of Rotary, I was now speaking outside of Walworth County, all over the state of Wisconsin. And people were starting to collect money for us. And so we were putting it into account. And eventually we had enough to apply for our 501c3. And so our accountant did it. And we got our 501c granted to us in 7 days.
Oh my goodness. Talk about urgency.
That was never heard of before. I mean, I had started a nonprofit years ago, an arts foundation in Elkhorn. It took 9 months to get our 501c3. And we got it for Join the Movement in 7 days.
Wow, was that a connection that was had through Rotary, or is that just the urgency of the people deciding like, oh, this is a more than basic need crisis situation.
Maybe.
Let's get this pushed through.
I don't know. I think it's a God thing.
Oh yeah, there you go. This is a little bit of Holy Spirit working and making things happen.
Absolutely.
So ever since then, you have been in crisis management. Would that be the ultimate umbrella? Crisis management and education.
Yes. Well,
and
we were started out. It was really all about the prevention. It was about getting the information out there. So one of the first things I did was write a toolkit on social media awareness and what you need to be aware of and what's coming at you through social media. Now, this was in 2018, so this was before COVID. This was before social media really took off like it did during COVID, where we had TikTok and we had all of these other chat programs. So this was still kind of in, Facebook. Everybody was on Facebook. Yeah. MySpace was just shutting down. And it was, it was a different time. We still had lots of different apps, but it was, our young people weren't really as proficient on it as they are now. It was different. But we needed parents to understand how these predators can gain access, and we needed to give them the tools to protect their kids. So we wrote this social media toolkit. I had a friend who was in the FBI, and he shared a sting operation that he was part of where they rescued 112 victims and they arrested 84 traffickers. One of those victims was 3 months old, and she was sold with her 5-year-old sister by a family member for drug money. My brain cannot even comprehend what that is like.
No, no, because my 1-year-old is 15 months, so that's it's too close to home.
It is, and my new granddaughter is 2.5 months old.
Oh,
I just can't even, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, the oldest traffic victim that they rescued was 68. And I'm thinking, but they're our greatest resources as civilization is our elderly, right? Our seniors. They are our history. They are what we learn from. How is that happening? And so I did some research, and I was stunned at how often this happens to our elderly. So I wrote the Senior Exploitation Toolkit for that 68-year-old that I never knew.
okay.
And it's kind of grown from there. The next one we did was the Hospitality Toolkit. And then we started doing the medical professionals, and we do first responder trainings all over the state. And then now I'm a guest lecturer at numerous medical colleges for their grand rounds, and they record my talks, and that new residents have to go through that training as well. Who will they see in their exam rooms? Who will they see when they go into a house, the first responders, and they walk into a house? I've even been invited to speak at the State Fire Inspectors Conference in.
My goodness.
I mean, anybody who has access to your house they need to know what they're looking at. Is it HVAC? Is it plumbers, electricians? When they walk into a house, what do they see? Are there locks on the outside of the doors? Why? Are the people that live there, do they look you in the eye when they answer your questions? Are they dressed appropriately for the weather? How is their health? What do their teeth look like? How do their eyes look? Those are all indicators that they're being abused.
My goodness.
And so that's what I do. And then we realized that sexting and sextortion has become such a major problem, especially in our schools. So we wrote a toolkit to provide families with resources for that. And we update our toolkits on a regular basis with the most current information and what we can provide and what assistance is out there if it's too late.
My goodness. Dawn, you have such a high stress job. I'm stressing out just hearing about all these things that you have to do. You must be on all the time, and I don't know how you find the time to be a professional and to be a Rotarian, all the work that goes into being a district governor. Tell me something that you do for fun that helps you disconnect from all of this.
I have my self-care days. So my hairdresser happens to be my best friend's daughter-in-law, and Sarah is she always takes good care of me when I go in to get my hair done. And then I get my nails done, which seems silly, but I get my nails done every other week. And Julie, who's my nail technician, she is one of my biggest worries. She and her brother, they collect toiletries for our care bags that we give out. And I always get bags and bags of stuff from her. They are, I have my husband. My husband is my greatest. He's the person that I talk to when I need someone to vent to, and he is my greatest encourager and supporter. And I'm very blessed with that. I also have my church and my family and my kids, and I have my family, and I have my palm tree, and I live on a golf course, and I have most amazing sunsets every night, and those feed me. Those are amazing. So, and we walk on the golf course every night when the weather's nice, and play with the neighbors' dogs. They come out to greet us, and I always have treats. Okay. So, we find our peace.
Well, you've got a really good community, it sounds like there. Now, you live in Elkhorn, is that right? Yes. Mm-hmm. So you're a member of the Rotary Club of Elkhorn.
Correct.
But you weren't always. Remind me where you started and how long you've been a Rotarian and how long you've been in this club.
So I started a new position. It was a part-time position working for the Boys and Girls Club. And the board hired me, and they said part of your job is you need to join Rotary Club. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what's a Rotary Club? I've never heard of it before. Now, I've been doing nonprofit fundraising and work for 30 plus years. And I had no idea that there was such a thing as Rotary and what service above self meant to others. And I walked into that first Rotary Club in Delavan, Darien, which was actually one of the first Rotary clubs ever organized. It was like number 9 or 7 or something along those lines.
Isn't Milwaukee number 10?
Something like that.
In our district? Yeah, pretty cool.
I can't remember the exact number, so I could be wrong, but they were one of the first clubs formed back in the day, and they were a very small club, and they were struggling. And I walked in there, though, and they were the kindest group of people I've ever met. And I fell in love instantly. I thought, service above self. That has been my life's mission. And there's other people that think that way. This is amazing. I had no idea, right? And I was an immediate connection, and they were such a phenomenal group. The club ended up closing down. There's a long story about that, but I had to move. When I took a position, I needed a full-time work. I got a full-time position in Elkhorn, and so I had to transfer my membership to Elkhorn because I couldn't get to Delavan. But they kept me on as an honorary member, and so I always helped them with their fundraising and their service projects, and I'd go to visit their club meetings whenever my schedule would allow me to do that. But and Christmas parties, and I was an honorary member, and I will forever be grateful for that club. They were wonderful. That group of people were the best. Well, Delavan Darien has now back as another club. They're a satellite club of the Geneva Lake West Club, and they are such a wonderful group, a small group, but man, do they pack a punch. They are really a phenomenal group of people who really care about their community, and they are really working hard to expand the club and to really help it grow.
And how long have you been with Elkhorn then?
So I've been in Elkhorn since 2015, but... So I was the president of the Elkhorn Club from 2018 to 2019. And during that time, we celebrated our 50th anniversary as a club. And it was a great event. We had so much fun that weekend. And I worked full time. Working for a church, you're kind of on call 24/7. And I'd get text messages 10:30 at a Sunday night or Saturday night saying, "Oh, we're not going to be in Sunday school tomorrow." It's like, okay.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
I hope your children are asleep. Yeah.
Right. So, you're always on. And I went away for a long weekend with my best friend who I met through Rotary, Kathy. And we went to Galena just for a long weekend, and I unplugged, and it was amazing. And I came back from that weekend, and I thought, this is nice. This is fun. I need to do more of this unplugging stuff. And I was a single mom for 10 years at that point. And I thought, it'd be kind of nice to go on a date now and again. And so I ended up joining eHarmony that night and ended up meeting my husband through that. And we got married 6 months later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was awesome. But he lived in Minnesota, and this was right before COVID, so I ended up leaving my position and moving to Minnesota. The plan was that I would commute back down here. I'd come down here for a week, and then I'd go back to Minnesota for a week and just commute back and forth. I had a huge schedule of events planned, for the times I was down here and the times I was in Minnesota. I would, so I had all these events scheduled on my calendar, and moved up to Minnesota, and that was our plan. And then COVID hit and shut everything down. Everything got canceled. I had nothing on my calendar because I wasn't essential. No one was meeting in large groups, and it was a weird year. I had just moved to a whole new community. I knew no one, and I had to switch to a Rotary club. I ended up switching to an E club, which everybody was doing E in those times, and I was ended up being a charter member of the Rotary Club to End Human Trafficking, which was in that district. And then they found out that I was an AG in Wisconsin. It's like, oh, well, you should be an AG here. We need somebody to be an AG of our E clubs because we got quite a few of them. So Tom Gump was the district governor, and he put me in charge of 11 clubs.
Oh, goodness.
As assistant governor.
Oh, goodness. I didn't realize your relationship with Tom Gump went that far back.
It does, yeah. And then he took pity on me because 11 is a lot, and he took 2 away, so then I only had 9.
Oh, beneficial, yes.
Yes, you're right.
And benevolent, yes. All right, so you were in Minnesota, and then...
Only for about a year and a half. My parents were in a really bad car accident, and I needed to come down and take care of them. So I ended up coming down here and spending the majority of the next 6 months, because right after 3 weeks after the car accident, my dad was diagnosed with leukemia, and he was not allowed to drive. So I needed to be here to take him to his chemo appointments at Fiedler, and my mother was still recovering from the car accident. She couldn't walk yet, and so I was their caregiver.
Yes.
So I was down here, and then at the same time, my husband's father, who lived 6 minutes from my parents, literally, and he lived in Minnesota and I lived here when we met, right? And his father lived 6 minutes from my parents. His father was elderly, still living at home. He had a small stroke. He had a small heart attack. He was in rehab. I'm taking care of my parents. So we thought maybe we need to move back down here. And so we bought our house and we moved down here. And the week we moved down here, the doctors had to up my dad's chemo because it wasn't responding. And he was no longer allowed to drive at all. And he was in a wheelchair. And I came just in time to be there to help those last few months before we lost him. And then Peter's dad passed away 3 months after my dad. By then, though, I was back here. And I emailed Dana. I said, hey, Dana, you're going to see my transfer. I'm back in Elkhorn. I'm back at the Elkhorn Club. And she goes, well, you know, we never filled your position as assistant governor when you left.
So why don't you come on back?
Why don't you come back? And so I did. And I was an AG for 5 years total. And it was a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, being an assistant governor is probably the best job in the district. It really is. You get to know all the clubs that you oversee. And I was in Warwick County. We had 5 clubs in Warwick County. So I had 5, which was not a problem because I literally lived right in the middle of all of them. So I'm so centrally located for all of those clubs that it worked out really slick. And they became more like family and friends than just another club that I have to visit. And I really did enjoy my time as an AG. But as an AG, I was invited to the 100th anniversary for the Geneva Lake West Rotary Club. And so I went, and Don Griffin was the district governor at the time. Rob Bassett, of course, is our Polio Plus chair.
Hero.
Hero, and he is my Rotary husband. And then John Henderson, who is from my club, who very much loved within our district the amount of work that he did. And he chartered our club, the Elkhorn Club. He was one of the original charters. They were also at this luncheon, and we were sitting together. And they said, you know, Dawn, you should apply for, you should be a district governor. And I'm like, no. Yeah, well, the club has to nominate you. Exactly. It's not going to happen. No, you really should be. And I get this Rotary sandwich of the 3 of them around me in my ear. You need to be district governor. We need to do this. And before I knew it, John Henderson had filled out my paperwork. And all I had to do was sign on the dot. He was notorious for that.
My goodness, I didn't know that John had done that.
Yeah, he was. And then he submitted it in, and Don's like, yes, we got it. And I had went through the interview process. There was another person who was being interviewed right before me. And then after I was done, not 5 minutes later, I get a call saying, by the way, you're going to be the district governor nominee designate. I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? And Don's like, we'll have a meeting. And so we had a meeting, and I still have all the notes from that original meeting telling me what to anticipate, what to expect, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. It was just like, holy cow, I had no idea. And that's
now, to those who are listening, I would like to interject here for a moment, because I know enough to say that Dawn's experience about getting to that role in DG is not the norm. So oftentimes it is, something that people plan for, right? Don't get sandwiched in at a particular meeting. I'll say, for example, when I approached the district governorship, it was a logical progression of things that I had been doing in leadership, and going from just being a good Rotarian and loving to volunteer, and then doing club president. I was also an AG in a couple different, we restructured our zones at that time. And then I stepped away for a little while. I started in one club and I transferred. I was in Neenah for 8 years, and then I transferred to Oshkosh Southwest. As our kids were growing up, I thought it would be great to raise them in the club, in their home city where I was always going to be. And then I realized just the timing of things. I'm a stay-at-home parent, and by the time my eldest is, 3 or 4, that's when this district governorship term that was, the applications were open for would be taking place. And I knew that I would be able to take him to meetings, or we'd be able to have the childcare. My 2 eldest daughters would be in school, and it just kind of, with the prospect of opportunities, not a lengthy visitor, I thought this might be the perfect time. And like you said, your club, you pitch it to your club, and the club fills out the paperwork, not John Henderson, and it goes off to submit. And I remember the interview process, and then that phone call, right? Congratulations, you're a district governor nominee designate. That
Yeah.
long word, the introduction to the alphabet soup of Rotary. But this is all to say that this month in August, applications are going to open up for district
Yes.
governor. And we want to tell as many people as possible about it because it's great and it's
It is.
exciting to be district governor, isn't it, Dawn? We
It
love
is,
going out and talking to
absolutely.
clubs. We love participating in PETS and TriCon and all the committees. And
Oh,
it
my
seems like a lot, and it is, but it's not overwhelming.
It is
Right,
not.
Dawn? What do you
And
want to
you know
tell
what?
people who are considering applying? And who should consider applying for district governor?
Everybody. And the only thing is, you do have to have been a president. You do not have to be an assistant governor. That is not a requirement. That's just the fun part of the job.
That's right. I think you have to
But
be a
you do have to
Rotarian
be
for
a
at least
club
7
president.
years.
Yeah. And so, absolutely consider it. It really is an amazing opportunity. And it's not something that they throw at you. Suddenly you have to know all of this stuff. It's a gradual learning curve. You start as the nominee, and even as the nominee designate, you're listening and you're learning and you're watching, and that's what that first year and a half is all about. And then as you get into your nominee year and you go to zone, that's what the zone is. It's all training. And Zone Institute is that that precursor to give you an idea and to help you form what that's going to look like. And then
Don, why don't you
next
tell
year-
us, for anybody listening who's not familiar with the structure of Rotary International, right? We've got the clubs. Rotary happens in the clubs, and then the district
Yes.
is a little bit on top of that, right? Our district, we've got about 55 clubs that we see some oversight, and then the clubs
We have
or the
54
zones or the
clubs in our
districts are structured into zone. What does that look like?
So we have 54 clubs in our district. We are the number 7 in the breakdown of what Wisconsin looks like for district. We have 3 districts in Wisconsin. We are 6270. 6250 is to the west of us, and 6220 is north of us. And they also have part of the Upper Peninsula. So we are a district. We all work together as a district. It is at the club level, but the club is a part of that district, and you pay those dues to the district, and the district, to RI. Excuse me, RI is broken up into 17 zones, and we have our RI directors oversee each zone. So there's 17 directors in Rotary International RI. And we are in zone 29, and we are partnered with zone 25B. Now they've just changed what the zones look like. Right now there are 23 districts in our zone class. When this changes, it's going to be down to 20, I believe. So when you go to zone, you're going to be in a different classroom setting than what I would have been in,
I've
or
read
even
that.
Carrie. So because they'll start working with you as you go forward with your training at this point. So the Zone Institute is when multiple zones come together to provide the training for future leadership in the district. It's not necessarily just district governor training. It's emerging leader training. It's the international service chair training. It's all sorts of different areas that they offer for training. The hard part of that is it's whatever the district can afford to pay, because this year our zone training is in Mexico. It's a lot more expensive for us to send people there. So we try to be very good stewards of the money that we have in our district. And so we've had to limit how many people we can send to the Zone Institute for training this year. But what is happening is we are also a part of a PETS conference, and we are one district out of 6 that puts PETS on. PETS is President-elect Training Seminar. That is always the first weekend in March. And it is in Itasca, Illinois. And we've been there for many years. And what's happening is that PETS is offering the leadership training development that we normally would have had to go to zone for. We now get the opportunity of doing it right here. And it's a lot cheaper for us as a district to send people to PETS for that emerging leaders training, which has been a phenomenal addition to the PETS training.
Not just emerging leaders, but I'd say leadership training in general is one thing that Rotary International should do a better job about promoting, right? We talk about our value proposition as an organization and what our club members are getting out of it. There are so many opportunities to develop as a leader of corporations, of people, and Zone is great for that. PETS is great for that. Club membership, online training, really Rotary has it all.
They do, but we need more. And what Rotary's training is really focused on Rotary and the positions within Rotary. We as a district are taking that one step further. We are offering that leadership development not only within our clubs and the different leadership positions in our clubs, but also at a district level and then even outside. We are now offering our training in September. Our district leadership training is not going to be just for the district. We are offering that outside to leadership, anyone in our communities who wants to progress in leadership positions within their own organization.
Spectacular.
They can come to us and we will provide them with that training, and it's not even expensive.
Well, I'm excited for that in September. Yeah, that's on the 21st, is that right?
26th.
26th? Yeah, so anybody who's listening is interested in that, all that information is on our website, our district website.
They will be releasing more information on that probably within the next week or so. The Learning Committee met Friday, and they have they've added a part of that training that I had asked them. I wanted to include our youth and our Rotary Youth Exchange, our Interact clubs, Rotaract, all of that World Affairs Seminar need to also be included, because our future as an organization in Rotary itself is in our youth. If we do not engage our youth, and we're sending them on Rotary exchanges, we're sending them to World Affairs Seminar, they are part of Interact groups, so they're already doing community service, but is it a one and done thing? And why is that? We need to bring them in, not only them, but maybe even the parents, especially for our Rotary Exchange students. Bring their parents into Rotary and explain what it is. They don't even know what we do. They just know that we're a really great organization that's sponsoring their youth to go to another country for a year.
It can be hard to talk about a Rotary, can't it? We talked about this in a previous podcast, that Olayinka doesn't like the term elevator pitch. You get to talk to somebody and tell them about Rotary, because that's so short and impersonal, and Rotary changes us in deeply personal ways. So to bring those people in for the face-to-face contact and tell those parents what we are and share those stories, that's what really drives the message and makes the connection to Rotary. But coming full circle here, just to close the thought, anyone interested in applying for district governor, if you already like leadership development and training and you want to continue to grow in that manner, all of the things that you get to do as a district governor will really feed into that desire that you have. So, you're doing club visits. How are they going, Dawn?
Oh, they're great. I have done 9 visits so far, and I've had 3 visits that were unofficial club visits. And then I had 2 days in Michigan for Central States, all in the first 2 weeks.
And Central States is Youth Exchange.
It's the Youth Exchange Summer Conference. So, I did that all in 2 weeks. And now this week I've got 4 club visits, and next week I have 3 more. And then I have a really big fundraiser for my organization next week. So I have to concentrate on that for the last part of next week.
Boy, it's a Herculean task getting all those things on the schedule right away, isn't it? And what are you talking about as you're going with? Are you talking to boards? Are you talking to all the clubs? What does your visits look like?
My visit is with the clubs. It's even more so. It's with the Rotarians in our district. I want to talk to all of them. And it's at the club level. If you want me to come to your board meeting, I'm happy to do so, but that is not my focus. My focus is to talk to every Rotarian in our district. I want to share. How do you share your Rotary story? What is it about Rotary that brings you to your club meetings every week? What is it that brings you up at 7 o'clock on a Thursday morning to go to breakfast with a group of people? Why do you do that? Is it a service project that you work on? Is it the youth exchange? Is it an international project? What is your why? Why do you do this? Why are you a part of Rotary? And then that becomes your purpose.
Well,
So
that's
that
excellent.
looks
That's
like-
the message that we want to get across. That's what RI's pushing. That's what you're pushing. That's
Right.
what we need to share. I think
Right.
that in and as of itself drives, new membership engagement when you're talking about these things outside of the club. And I think it supports retention efforts too, because people are reminded why they're there and why they continue to come back.
And what your personal story is. People, what would happen to your community if your club was no longer there? Would anybody
Yeah,
even
that's a
notice?
good question.
Now, if you've got adult children, raise your hand if you've got an adult child. Are they in Rotary?
Yes, or a spouse, or
Or a spouse? Well, spouses
your
can be
friends.
complicated. I'll be honest with you, my husband is not in Rotary, but I wouldn't be able to do what I do without him.
my spouse is a teacher. She's not in Rotary either.
Yeah, so I mean, spouses, it can be a little bit harder to get a spouse involved because they're so supportive of the work that you do, and they're usually there for anything to help in any way, right? They're already a part of it. Volunteers are great. We need our volunteers as much as we need our Rotarians. So what I do then is I charge each Rotarian over the next year to bring one person to share their personal story, their Rotary story with one person, invite them to the club and see what happens if they join or not. What the worst case scenario is, they're not interested in joining, but maybe they would want to volunteer to help with a certain project. That's a great thing. That's a win, right? But
It is
if
a win.
everybody brings at least one person who joins their club, what does that mean? It means that you have extra hands for service projects, you have extra hands for fundraising efforts, and you've got additional talent within your club to reach the goals that you want to reach as a club within your community. And you've expanded the size of your club just that simply. If everybody did that, think how much we could grow.
It
in
sounds
our
so
district.
simple, doesn't it? Yes.
But it's about what is your why. And so when I talk to the clubs, I'm asking them specifically, I want to know, what is it about this club that you are passionate about? What do you love about being here? Is it the networking? That's fine. Is it the friendships? Is it the food? That's okay too. Is it the service project? Is it the bowling for dollars or the brews for kids? Whatever it is that you do, is that your purpose? Is that your story? Now share that with somebody, because nobody joins a club because they need new members. Did you join your Rotary Club because it needed a new member?
I
didn't.
joined my Rotary Club because I was looking for business contacts, and it is not a bad word. And I very quickly loved everything that they were selling and became a Rotarian, drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
Because these were a group of like-minded people who were committed to service above self, and that was very attractive.
Absolutely. And, when we left Pets, one of the members in our district, one came up to me, she goes, I came to Pets as a member of my Rotary Club, and I left a Rotarian. That was awesome. That's
It is.
so
Pets can
fun,
be
right?
a hugely transformative experience. You go in, and if you don't come out of that energized with a ton of ideas, you might need to question what you're doing there, because it's so hard not to be impacted, not just by the speakers, but everyone around you. They're there with so much purpose. So
Right.
I think that's a good quote. That should be a branded quote that your club shares on social media that you can be sharing as a district governor. So you talk
Absolutely.
about bringing people this year, encouraging everyone to bring people in this year. Look out further than that. We did a district visioning back in April, and we did some planning and visioning. What would our district look like 3 years from now? And what are some of the things that you can tell us that we're working on from that strategic plan that we can expect to see in 2028, 2029, and beyond?
I honestly, I don't know that I remember it all. It's not like I haven't anything else to think about lately, Christopher. I was at the visioning, and it was very eye opening. There were a lot of things like Rotary means business, that we want to grow that, and I know they had their first meeting last week. That was awesome. I was actually at the West Dallas Club, and they're like, "Man, I would have liked to have been there. I wish I could have come, but it was our club meeting, so we couldn't." And the Amigos I had the same story from some of the Amigos, because that's their big night too. So I mean, I think that is really going to take off. I think what Ben is doing is amazing, and I'm glad for that, because I think that's really going to help with that business contact and really growing within. I mean, how many people are in business who want to be a part of something to make their business better, right?
Should always be growing.
Always. So I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I can remember. I know that communication was something that was brought up, and we did some investigating on what our district does provide as far as communications into everybody's email boxes. And to be honest, the numbers were not that significantly high.
I was surprised when I found that out too.
Yeah, so that was a surprise, because that was a major concern. So we think that there's a lot of things, other areas where that's coming from. RI generates a lot of emails, and they're very heavy content, and
that's out of our control.
That's out of our control. And then, of course, our clubs, they generate emails too. You've got different committees and so forth. And so that, if you're a part of that committee, then you have to anticipate you're going to be receiving emails or phone calls in those regards as well. So, our district, we aren't really that much of a problem as far as sending out emails. I was very happy to see that wasn't part of the issue. And unfortunately, when you're combining all of these things together, it seems like it's a lot. And I would love to be, we are going to try significantly to try and contain that as much as we are able to.
Good.
And I think having our district magazine, what Reggie does with that magazine is amazing. That magazine, I've shared that with some of my classmates from our zone, and they're like, "Wow, this is awesome. This is really amazing."
It's an award winner waiting to happen.
Absolutely an award winner. And do you know where that came from? Reggie went to an emerging leaders zone tract, and he came home with that project, and he's been running it since. He is such an awesome young man. I mean, I say that because I'm old as dirt. But he is awesome, and he is also a brand new assistant governor. So
I know we're going to give him another 4 or 5 years before we sandwich him, you and me, Dawn, into applying for the district governor track.
Oh, he would be phenomenal, and he just finished his year as president, so he's able.
Reggie's the best. He's going to be a guest on here soon. He doesn't know it yet, but it's coming in another month or so.
I love that, because you will
with
love
that. We're going to start wrapping it up. We've got maybe another 2 minutes here.
Really?
And I want to ask you. I had so many questions I wanted to ask, but you just kept coming up with such good things to say. How about I leave you with this? When your year as district governor is over, what do you want people to remember about what you talked with them, or what you did with them 5, 10 years from now? Right? You and I were talking about Julie Craig at the beginning, and we had how she impacted us. How do you want to be that way for another person?
Julie, not only did she impact me, she changed the trajectory of my life. So, I mean, we're talking a major impact. I want people to remember their why they joined Rotary. It's not just because we do it every week. There's a reason you're here. Why are you here? And remember that. And I want you to share that easily. You don't need to think what your elevator story is. It's not like that. This is what is in your heart.
Good.
Rotary is in your heart. Why? And share that. What is it about this organization and the work that we do around the world that has impacted you the most? And share that. And don't be afraid to share it.
That's mindfulness, reminding people to, remember their why they show up every day. Don't just follow the motions.
Right.
Yeah, keep it in your heart, and that'll come out in the actions that we do in service. Wow. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for being our guest today. You had a lot to say, and I'm sure you're going to talk to every single Rotarian in our district like you wanted to do earlier. Good luck with all of your club visits. We will probably have you on as a guest, either by yourself or with other people as this year rolls on, because I think it's important to hear the district governor more than just once at the club meeting. And we have a lot to work on, and thank you for being part of that team. And I would ask you as our guest to close us out today by leading us in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do.
First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all
Fair to all concerned.
Third, will it build
Build goodwill and better friendships.
And fourth, will it be beneficial?
Beneficial to all concerned. And you do a fifth.
And is it fun?
There we go. I wanted to give you that opportunity because you love it so much.
There you go.
Thank you, Dawn. You have a wonderful rest of your district governor year. Take care.
Bye.